But I told you. I told you what I like. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty-bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung. You want to pull up tough because you notice that butt was stuffed deep in the jeans she's wearing. I'm hooked and I can't stop staring. My homeboys try to warn me, but that butt you got make me so horny. And I skipped a line there, but it's okay. Ooh, rumpa smooth skin. Say you want to get in my Benz? Well, use me, because you ain't no average groupie. I seen her dancing. Hell with romance, and she sweat. Got it going like a turbo vet. I'm tired of magazines saying flat butts are the thing. You take an average black man and ask him that, she better pack much back. So fellas, has your girlfriend got the butt?
Hell yeah.
Tell her to shake it, shake that healthy butt. Baby got back. Yeah, no, tell him, just, word for word. Right. People.
Our headline of the month: Paris finally agrees to U.S. President Hoover's lifeline.
I'm Indy Nidell.
I'm Spartacus Olson.
And this is The Rise of Hitler. Welcome back to the Weimar Wire, covering all of July's judgmental jousts, jeopardized junctures, and jaded jurisdictions.
And here are the other headlines of this month.
Right.
Relief turns to ruin, bank collapse, stock markets close, protests erupt.
And holy heist, rogue preacher steals Constitution.
What? What did you just say?
Yeah. It's a thing. This is a thing. It is what it says. It's what I got it right here, okay? But we will get to this one, I promise. It's real.
I gotta hear that. But before tackling July, let's look at what happened last month.
In June, Germany's crisis reached so far unseen levels. Unemployment, new austerity cuts, mass protests from communists and Nazis as the banks edged towards collapse.
Facing disaster, Chancellor Brüning rushed to London for help. At the last minute, US President Herbert Hoover proposed a one-year debt pause, bringing hope to Berlin, while the Social Democrats just barely kept Brüning in power.
But don't count your chickens before they hatch. As June ended, France still had not officially signed on, leaving Germany's future hanging in the balance.
So that was June. And now, where's Hitler? What's Adolf up to this month?
Well, first off, he makes some suspect claims about the Great War. On the 3rd, Hitler speaks in Erlangen.
In this war, our people accomplished a feat that cannot be brushed aside. That we withstood an enemy 5 times our number shows our courage, endurance, and our strength. What a miracle that this folk endures.
You see what I mean? 5 times? Well, that's just malarkey.
You mean hokum?
Yeah, banana oil. At the war's start, the Entente had 9 million soldiers, the Central Power 6.3 million. That's 3-2, not 5-1. Even at the height of the war, the Entente never fielded more than 1.5 to twice the number of troops in any major theater. Even total mobilization across the war, 20 million to the Central Powers versus 40 million to the Entente. That's a big difference, but it's 2-1, not 5-1.
Also, we did not withstand, we lost.
We lost, yeah.
But that's just a minor detail, right?
Then comes the strangest bit though, okay? On the 15th, the New York Herald prints a Hitler interview, right? He talks of Bolshevism versus Germany, the horrors of the Versailles Treaty, the same old story. But there's also something pretty unexpected.
I am myself a German. It is foolish to blame the government for the economic disaster of today. The blame must be attached to the policy based on false economic presumption.
Slow down here. Did Hitler just excuse the German government, the same government that he and the Nazi press and party agitators have just dragged through the mud again and again?
It seems so.
Yeah.
And it gets better. Edward Dingelday, the party leader of the German People's Party, the DVP, talks with Hitler on the 29th. He also reports Hitler said he had the utmost respect for Mr. Brüning for his patriotism, his personal character, and his intelligence.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. That does not sound like Hitler at all.
I know, right? Even Brüning himself notes, in private, Göring told me that Hitler and his associates at heart had no real objections to my foreign or economic policy.
And the Nazis stand by that, publicly declaring that the government isn't to blame?
What do you think?
From everything we've seen, it does not make sense. So, no?
And you are correct. In Der Angriff, the Nazi newspaper headed by Joseph Goebbels, Nazi Party MP and chief propagandist, the Nazis declare, "They're lying! They're lying! A fabricated Hitler interview!" And in the Völkische Beobachter from the 28th, the first part of the interview is reprinted and the last, allegedly fabricated bit, is left out.
So, One possibility, the mask slips for a second and we catch a glimpse of the real Hitler, the backroom dealmaker who says one thing in public, another in private, anything to further his agenda.
The other? A bizarre plot where the German chancellor, the head of the DVP, and some American reporters hatch a scheme to make Hitler sound reasonable. We're not saying which one is true.
But one sure sounds more like the 1931 that we know. Speaking of the 1931 that we know, let's move on to the headline of the month, Sparty, at your leisure.
Sure thing. As regular listeners know, last month we spent a whole episode covering the Hoover moratorium, the one-year debt pause for German reparation payments, and a lot of detail regarding the specifics. Something we will not do this month.
Right. On the 6th, good news reaches Berlin. 15 nations are now on board with providing debt relief for Germany, and crucially, France is now among them.
Vorwärts, the Social Democratic newspaper, reports the morning of the 7th.
Agreement at last. Reported from Washington and Paris. Payment of government debts is postponed from July 1st, 1931 until June 30th, 1932.
And the Social Democrats are not the only ones that celebrate this moment. Brüning's government also sees cause to celebrate, as relayed by the Vossische Zeitung. The far-sighted and statesmanlike initiative of President Hoover has been crowned with success. The sense of relief is causing friendly and joyful feelings everywhere.
Everywhere, huh? Yeah. No. While the center-left to center-right generally does welcome the agreement, two forces at the far ends of the German political spectrum vehemently disagree. Here is what the Nazis have to say.
Franco-American agreement, France on top, the unprotected payments rescued. Germany under the control of the central banks. We title our discussion of the situation surrounding the Hoover Plan, France's victory. And the communists certainly cannot be described as joyous either.
Brüning dictates the people must keep making sacrifices. Hoover compromise in favor of France. Germany's economy is pledged to foreign countries.
So both the Nazis and the communists agree. France, not Germany, is the true winner of the agreement.
You know, you don't see that often.
See what?
The Nazis and the communists agreeing.
True that.
True that.
Although more interesting, in my opinion, is asking whether they have a point. In the new compromise between Paris and Washington, the unconditional reparations payments will continue.
Just a quick recap, Germany's reparations payments are of two kinds, conditional and unconditional. As the name suggests, the conditional payments are conditional on Germany's economic performance, whereas the unconditional ones are, well, unconditional. Germany needs to pay those no matter what happens.
France has been pushing since negotiations began last month that the unconditional payments must remain, and now they succeed.
So, the Nazis and the communists have a point?
Not really, though. Yes, the unconditional payments remain, but not in the same way as before. Simply put, Germany pays the money to France, and France then agrees to loan it back to Germany.
So, while the unconditional payments are paid by Germany, they just get the money back, and I assume they will need to pay interest on it.
Correct. That's exactly how it will be. This way, the French government can sell its parliament a symbolic victory, since the payments are technically paid. At the same time, Germany is also relieved because it gets the money right back. It's a win-win.
All right, well, as long as it's a win-win, hey, all is well in Germany. We made it. Woo, the economy's gonna be safe. Sparty, get your glasses, get your party hats, get your pants on. Now keep your pants on. Let's celebrate the U.S. and toast to the prosperous future of Germany.
Andy, aren't you forgetting something?
I forgot the glasses. That's why I should get the glasses. I can drink it from the bottle, but
no, our second headline of the month.
Second headline of the month.
Read it again, will you?
Relief turns to ruin. Bank collapse, stock markets closed, protests erupt. I don't like where this is going.
Me neither, but we have no choice. Just put that stuff away.
All right, sorry, little friend. Fine. So while the memorandum does help, it is not enough. And even with the support of 15 nations at its back, including the US, France, and the UK, Germany falters.
And the government is aware of this. This is why the president of the German Reichsbank, Hans Luther, travels to London and Paris to get yet more credit for Germany on the 9th.
While the Hoover moratorium fights the symptoms, it does nothing about the causes of the economic disease ravaging the Reich. 13.1 billion marks are owed in the short term, most of them over the next 12 months. Slightly less than half of that is owed not by the German government, but by the German banks.
Just to provide some perspective, this year the German state is expecting revenue of roughly 20 billion marks, so the German banks alone owe more than a quarter of that short term.
But when Luther returns, he has bad news to share in a cabinet meeting.
Luther reported on the outcome of his trip, which he described as completely negative. They had also discussed Germany's political demands, mentioning the armored cruiser, the customs union, the Polish corridor. He replied that there is no moratorium for matters of the soul.
So, in other words, France and Britain are only willing to grant more money to Germany in return for political concessions. First, they demand an official end to the proposed Austro-German customs union. Second, they want a formal renunciation of German claims to the Polish corridor, the land bridge linking Poland to the Baltic Sea. Finally, they also want Germany to stop production of the Deutschland, the first of a new class of pocket battleships.
This ship has already caused controversy both at home and abroad. It does strictly adhere to the tonnage limit of the Treaty of Versailles, up to but not exceeding 10,000 tons. To compensate, the newest technologies are leveraged to maximize the destructive capabilities of the ship.
However, Brüning immediately shuts down any concessions regarding the Deutschland in the same meeting.
Regarding the armored cruiser, of course, no concessions by the Reich government was possible. As for the customs union, an understanding might be reached, but that would require some time.
Time that the government does not have, and one setback follows another in the coming days.
On the 13th, the patrons of Bank, one of the largest German banks, finds themselves in front of locked doors and a message. The Bank has announced that it is compelled to keep its counters closed. In other words, it has run out of cash.
Ooh.
The word spreads quickly throughout the country.
And then, in Berlin and across Germany, thousands of people rush to their banks to hastily withdraw all their money as the hyperinflation of 1923 haunts their memories.
The government reacts quickly. That evening, President Hindenburg issues a new emergency decree. Here's the gist of it. 2 bank holidays, new regulation. Today and tomorrow, all banks are closed. Suppose that's one way
That is one way to stop a bank run.
Yeah.
You are right, yeah.
But that's not all. The German stock markets close, and as of today, the 31st, they're still shut.
Hindenburg's just getting started. On July 15th, a new emergency decree bans foreign currency payments. Now, only the Reichsbank can handle those.
So, if you have British pounds at home, you can't use them or exchange them?
Exactly, not for now. On the 18th, a fresh decree demands that anyone holding gold or foreign currency register it and obtain Reichsbank's permission before they or their treasurer can leave the Reich. Then on the 27th, the Reich government gets sweeping powers to invest in businesses and guarantee their debts to keep payments flowing.
As you might imagine, with this kind of news at this moment, the situation throughout this month is anything but calm. Emblematic of the tense situation is what happens on the 10th in Heide near Kiel. Here, 3 major forces vying for the future of Germany enter into a proper fight. Democrats, communists, and Nazis.
Paul Löbe, SPD member and president of the Reichstag, is supposed to speak at a Social Democratic Party rally. When exiting the train station, Löbe is greeted by shouting from the Nazis and the communists.
Germany awake!
Hail Moscow!
Löbe, go to hell and die! In the end, the Nazis and the communists attack the SPD march, but run into the democracy-supporting paramilitary organization, the Reichsbanner Schwarz-Rot-Gold.
Some 80 to 100 Reichsbanner men enter into a serious brawl with the attackers and emerge victorious. 15 people or so are injured, and most of those pretty badly.
Of course, the federal and state governments do not sit idly by while standing atop a powder keg with the fuse lit. The Nazi Party headquarters are looted by the Bavarian police, the 4th.
7 Nazi functionaries are arrested in Kiel on the 7th.
On the 8th, the Rote Fahne, the largest communist newspaper, is banned for 2 weeks. Soon, the Arbeiterstimme, another communist newspaper, is also banned. The Völkische Beobachter and Der Angriff, Nazi newspapers, suffer the same fate.
Meanwhile, the German Chancellor and Foreign Minister go to Paris the 18th and 19th. And the Seven Powers Conference begins in London on the 20th, and they're at that as well, analyzing Germany's financial situation and hashing out the final details of the moratorium and extending some loans. But neither brings in new money.
Yeah, so all in all, moratorium or not, the situation is still dire.
Especially given a joint declaration made by the Nazis, the German National People's Party, and the Stahlhelm, a right-wing paramilitary organization, with 500,000 members on the 21st.
The National Opposition, as they call themselves, declare that they will not honor any new financial commitments made by the Brüning government when they come to power.
Wow.
Yeah, but indeed, now I need to know who stole the Constitution and why.
Okay, this, my friend, is a tale of thievery, questionable police work, and erotic literature. On a cool summer's day last year, on the 29th of August, the newspapers reported break-in at the Reichstag was carried out in the library of the Wallot building. The perpetrator made off with several silver items.
Okay, I have some questions. First, there is no talk about a constitution right there. Second, how the hell does someone break into the Reichstag?
Patience. Though as to how the thieves gained entry, here's what the press speculates. The perpetrator managed to establish contact with the secretariat of the Communist Reichstag faction. He also succeeded in gaining the trust of several cleaning women. According to police suspicions, he was also the one who recently arranged Bible study courses for Reichstag staff.
Wait, Bible courses?
Yep.
The Communist Secretariat?
Yeah, and this only makes it better, right? The silverware and other valuables stolen are private items owned by the chief librarian. He went on vacation and he thought his stuff would be safer in the Reichstag library.
That's not funny though.
than at home. Okay, in total, the missing items are worth around 3,000 marks.
Well, I guess he was wrong.
He was very wrong. And not only that, okay, the newspapers reported the break-in August 29th, as I said. But in reality, it happened on the 24th. But not until the 2nd of November is it noticed that the German Constitution of 1848 was stolen as well. Sparty, do you mind sharing with our listeners what the 1848 Constitution is?
Sure. Okay, the Constitution was drafted as a plan to make King Friedrich Wilhelm IV of Prussia the first Kaiser of a united Germany. But he refused. I will never stoop to pick up a crown out of the gutter. Because both the crown and constitution came from a revolutionary parliament. It was never adopted.
Thank you. Of course, a historical treasure was not just left lying about. It was in a locked iron cupboard. But neither the door to the room nor the cupboard showed any signs of forced entry.
The cabinet must have been opened with the corresponding key, which was also accessible.
Said key, as it happens, was in the room next door, which is not, the best security. In the cupboard, there was not just the Constitution, but also other works.
For example, the picture encyclopedia of erotica. The burglars seemed to be little rascals. Maybe it was the birthday of one of their girlfriends. Who knows? By the way, it speaks well for the moral efforts of the Reichstag librarians that they kept that 3-volume work locked away in an iron cabinet that's never opened.
And also, Marcus Hirschfeld's The Sexual History of the World War. These works were in the cabinet, it's more of a cupboard actually, because the library does not think them suitable for public display.
Okay, and any idea why the thieves took those and the Constitution?
At first, there were some wild theories. A crazy collector from Switzerland or the US or a foreign government. But that would not explain the stolen valuables. And as it turns out, the thief tried to hawk some of those valuables in a pawn shop.
Ah, so that's how the police get on his tail.
Yep, the thief is identified.
Church painter Walter Wohlgemuth, 39 years old and originally from Königsberg, 171 centimeters tall, stocky, with dark blonde hair, clean-shaven, and wears glasses.
But by then, he is long gone, probably in Switzerland. The Constitution is found in his abandoned apartment March 28th.
Well, what about the erotica?
That has found its way elsewhere. He apparently used it to pay a bar tab owned by one of the infamous criminal Ringvereine, the mafia-like gangs that dominate Berlin's underworld, controlling rackets from gambling to prostitution.
You can see how they had use for it.
Well, yeah, definitely. He is caught, though. Huh? This is gripping, isn't it? Right? It's a great story, yeah? He is caught when he returns to Germany, and when apprehending him, the police make further discoveries.
Wohlgemuth had committed a burglary at the Society Against Burglary on Gleitstrasse, as well as another break-in at the sacristy of the church on Tannenbergallee. First, not very preacher-like, and second, why on earth would he break in there? I can't tell if I should shake my head or be impressed.
As his trial begins now, July 28th, the newspapers are full of headlines about Wohlgemuth and his exploits.
A novel about the thief of the Constitution document. Painter, gold prospector, anarchist, and preacher. 5 times a groom. What does he himself have to say about the whole
Okay, he has a lot to say about it. As his motive, Wohlgemuth says that the KPD, the communists, right, hired him to break into the Nazi offices at the Reichstag to steal documents, something the KPD vehemently denies. It goes without saying that this deceitful, pious painter was never actually connected to the Communist Party.
Okay, what about the trial itself?
Wohlgemuth gave the court a wild story. Anarchists, all kinds of leftist groups, even the Spartacus Bund.
No comment.
He says he lost everything in the inflation time, and he nearly ended it all. But then he found religion and preached for a while before getting roped into stealing art from a gallery.
Quite a character, that's for sure. So what's the verdict?
1 year and 7 months.
Well, that's not too bad, I guess, for stealing a national treasure and all.
Hey, I got an idea. This, forget a novel, this is prime movie material, huh? National treasure. I like that. A movie about a guy having to steal a constitution or, something like that. Yeah.
A movie like that in this economy? Who knows how long that will take?
I'm thinking about 73 years.
Sounds about right.
Wait, Sparty. What time is it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Again, we're both well into Schnitzel or Schmaltz, your weekly slice of German cuisine. Hi, guys. Okay, then, look, another speed round, and then we promise next time we'll manage our time better. Sorry.
Westminster erupts. July 2nd, Labour firebrand John McGovern rails against the arrest of 2 Glasgow street preachers, refuses the Speaker's order to sit, gets booted. MPs trade shouts, then punches. Parliamentary protocol meets bare-knuckle politics.
Vatican rocked. July 17th, the bomb is found in St. Peter's, hauled to the gardens, and boom! Only scorched earth, no souls harmed. Holy smokes, literally.
Was the smoke white or black?
This is a pretty good one. We don't have time. Yep, we don't have time. Okay.
Bad news for all you opium enthusiasts. Geneva's International Opium Conference signs the Limitation Convention on July 13th, slapping strict quotas on morphine, heroin, and cocaine production. So if your idea of a good night includes any of those, expect a supply-side headache.
Rails across Africa. With the final strike driven on July 8th, the Trans-African Railway now links the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean. One colossal iron ribbon from surf to savannah.
Camp Hill, Alabama. Protests over the Scottsboro Boys trial erupt into clashes with police, reminding America that Jim Crow swings a heavy baton. Now on to the Weimar Wire political indicator, powered by TimeGo.
Extremes keep climbing. Nazis on the right, communists on the left, establishment parties slide, blamed for the chaos.
July leaves us with these questions.
Is the German banking crisis contained or only just beginning?
How long can the Reich keep the stock exchanges shuttered before panic turns into violence on the streets?
Can Bruning win fresh credit without surrendering the customs union, the Deutschland, or the Polish corridor?
Will President Hindenburg have to issue yet another emergency decree to keep the whole show from crashing?
To get answers to all of these questions and loads more, stay with us at the Weimar Wire as we, and hopefully not that fly, follow Germany's roller coaster of events month by month.
It's you, the Time Ghost Army, who let us dig into the past so we can preempt the mistakes of tomorrow. Join the ranks at timeghost.tv or patreon.com and keep history alive.
Excelsior! You know what? I like them round and big, and when I'm throwing a gig,
You
I
do?
just can't help myself. Yeah, I'm acting like an animal. Now here's my scandal. I want to get you home and double up.
Me?
I ain't talking about Playboys.